Good morning. My name is Gene Chan, Hearing Officer for San Francisco Public Works. Cerise Waiters is the clerk of this hearing. This hearing is being recorded by Zoom and will be available afterwards through a link on the San Francisco Public Works website, sfpublicworks.org. As this is a virtual hearing, there is no sign-in sheet, so if you would like to receive information about the results of this hearing, please send an email to the email address listed on the hearing notice, urbanforestry@sfdpw.org. This public hearing is being held to consider the following items. Hearing Order 212619, to consider the removal of 2 street trees with 1 replacement adjacent to 412 Hayes. Hearing Order 212620, to consider the removal of 1 street tree with replacement adjacent to 530 Grove Street. And Hearing Order 212621, to consider the removal of 1 street tree with replacement adjacent to 1515 South Van Ness Avenue. My job as the hearing officer is to gather the facts for the hearing item, listen to your testimonies, and help our Director of Public Works make a determination. I will not be making any decisions today. Instead, I will forward the findings from this hearing and make my recommendations to the Director. The Director will make the final determinations. When the Director's determinations are made, the department will notify you of them if you have provided contact information. The hearing will proceed as follows. First, I will ask Public Works staff to speak first and present the case. There's no time limit for this presentation. Next, I will allow the property owner or representative to speak. Finally, any member of the public who wants to speak. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to speak. The clerk will monitor the time for all speakers and will indicate when the speaker has 30 seconds left. If you're a party to this proceeding, I will call on you to speak. If you would like to use visual materials in your presentation, please let us know before you speak. If you're a member of the public who wants to speak, please wait for me to call for public comments, then use Zoom's raise your hands feature if you're on a computer to put yourself in the queue to speak. If you are dialing in on your phone, dial *9 to indicate you're raising your hand. When it's your turn to speak, I will recognize you. If on your phone and you're muted, press *6 to unmute yourself. If you cannot finish your comments within the allotted time, you may submit written testimony to me by the end of this hearing at urbanforestry@sfdpw.org. After all comments are completed, I will close the item. We will now begin the hearing. First, we will open up the hearing to general public comments on matters that are within the department's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda. Are there any general public comments that are not on today's agenda that anyone would like to comment on? Okay, seeing no hands raised, for general public comments, I will close this item. Moving on to the agenda items for today, order number 212619. May I have the department make its presentation?
Good morning. My name is Brian Ong. I'm with San Francisco Public Works, Bureau of Urban Forestry. This is for the tree removal hearing for March 4th, 2026. Before I go into the cases, I'm going to give a little background information. Public Works' goal is to ensure safe, clean, and green infrastructure in the public right-of-way. It is BUF's mission to preserve and grow the urban forest while balancing the safety and needs of a growing and evolving city. This is Street Tree SF. It's basically the city has taken over responsibility and maintenance of all 125,000 street trees. We've set aside $19 million for the general fund for Street Tree SF. And what you see on to the left is basically just a map of a census that was completed in 2016, used to create priorities and a routine proactive tree pruning schedule for the city's street trees. So you can go to our website and you can find out when your tree is going to be pruned or if it has been pruned. So that all that information is on our website. So a tree ordinance establishes authorization and standards for addressing a wide range of issues regarding trees. San Francisco's urban forestry ordinance is codified under Article 16 of the Public Works Code. So basically the Article 16 urban forestry ordinance, a removal permit is required to remove street trees, significant trees, and landmark trees. Important updates from February 2022. If the department is removing a tree, a replacement is required within 120 days or added and tracked on a delayed replacement tree report. If a tree cannot be planted in situ, then it must be replanted by a nearby location. If the property owner or the applicant is granted a removal permit for removal of a healthy tree, the department shall require a replacement street tree of equivalent value to the one removed or impose an in lieu fee. Basically, if the owner pays a difference between the appraised value of the subject tree minus the value of the replacement tree, the value of the replacement tree is based on the standard in lieu fee for a 24-inch box or installation replacement size. And in most cases, a tree removal permit will not be granted if the tree is healthy and structurally sound. Our tree removal criteria, if it's dead, dying, not thriving, a poor species for location, growth, or no longer sustainable, damaging to private property, if the tree is hazardous, if the tree is small, less than 4 inches in diameter, and construction requires removal, the tree can be replaced in kind. If the tree is destabilized by construction, if there's no feasible workaround, or if the applicant must provide sufficient supporting documents, if the tree is in good to fair condition, applicant must pay appraised value for loss of the tree. And so basically, if a removal permit is granted, the property owner is required to plant a replacement and pay the difference between appraised value and the new site based on the in lieu fee structure. If a tree site is to be lost in a tree in good condition, appraised value or the in lieu fee will be assessed, whichever is greater. Example is a tree approved for a new driveway. Also, if street tree SF removal, BUF must plant a replacement tree or locate a replacement site, mark as a delayed replacement. If a removal permit is being granted to a property owner for removal of a dead, dying, hazardous street tree, the tree is required to be replaced. If not sufficient space, there is no in lieu fee assessed. The property owner is not required to replace it off-site. So to start our hearing today, this is for order number 212619 for 412 Hayes Street. This is to consider the removal of 2 street trees with 1 replacement adjacent to 412 Hayes Street. The staff has approved the removals and the public has protested. And this is the first tree at 412 Hayes Street. Tree is mature, DVH is 21 inches, the condition is poor. And basically, the tree is in poor condition. You can see that there's been some line tailing structure from the necessary clearance over the immunity lines, and there's an unbalanced crown with a lean over the road. There's significant chronic mechanical damage due to the lack of clearance over the road, and there's history of significant tension side root pruning for sidewalk repair, and this tree is replaceable. Here's another photo of the sidewalk. Sidewalk uplift resulted in a trip and fall, which requires immediate sidewalk repair. And a temporary grind of the sidewalk has been completed, which abated the immediate hazard in a bus zone, but a full sidewalk repair is scheduled to repair the remaining uplift that can't be grounded down. Can only ground down a certain portion of the sidewalk. If it's too large of a crack, then we could do like an asphalt patch in the meantime, but for the most part, if it's a trip and fall case, then we try and repair the whole sidewalk so it doesn't happen again. All three trees were assessed for retention ahead of the full sidewalk repair, and on their own merits, two of the trees were recommended for removal by the department. Um, Here's another close-up of the first tree. Again, it's a ficus tree. There's significant chronic mechanical damage due to the lack of clearance over the road. You can see from this photo that it's been repeatedly struck by trucks because of the clearance. And then here is another photo of the sidewalk, which is the history of significant um, tension side root pruning for sidewalk repair. Um, and then another photo of the tree. Basically, you can see that it's been lion-tailed just so there can be clearance for this minibus to pass through. And then here's another photo of this cracking. Oh, sorry, this is the third tree. This tree is not replaceable due to the proximity of sewer and gas replacement, which will be relocated nearby. Then this third tree again, it has cracking, poor taper, and included bark at the base of the major stem. Basically, this third tree, or site number 3, sorry, is like the first site. The tree is in poor condition, lion-tailing structure from the necessary clearance over the muni lines, an unbalanced crown with a lean over the road. And so again, here's another photo of that tree number 3. There's pockets of decay and sunken bark area on the tension side of the lean area of the planned sidewalk repair. And here's another photo because the tree is not replaceable because of this this sewer and gas line directly at the base of the tree. We usually require 3 feet from gas and water and then 5 feet from sewer. And so to be consistent with how we deal with similar cases, Public Works has approved the trees for removal. That's it for that one.
Thank you. This was initiated by property or the city?
This one was initiated by the city
Okay,
because of the sidewalk repair that needs to happen on Hayes Street.
okay, thanks. Okay, thanks. I will open it up to public comments at this time. Mr. John Nolte?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. A couple of issues. One, the posting and the agenda for this item only states there are 2 trees to be removed for the hearing. And now we say 3. Also, the trees were all asked to be removed on 4/29/2019 by under a hearing again by Buff, and it also was appealed by a Board of Appeals, and these trees stayed. Then it was said it was posted on 2/1 through 12/1 through 12/15/2025. When I asked about a posting for the trees, there was no postings on those trees. And then your websites posted that only again 2 trees were going to be removed in January of 2026. And again, now you have 3 trees being removed. So you cannot be having a hearing on tree removals if you can't even post the trees. There were no postings on these trees. There are no postings currently on the block because normally when you have a hearing, you also post on the corners stating that the trees are there's a hearing on the trees. There are no such notices were placed there for this hearing today. So again, I feel that these should not be in front of you because no postings multiple times for these 3 trees were never produced and are shown to the public so they can be here at this hearing. Next issue is that Then we have the problem with it's the property owner who has had problems with its ability to do this in front of this building. Uh, uh, when doing research on it, they were had problems with the city for its ability to uh, be zoned correctly, and it went through a whole process of rezoning the property, and of course, Buff was involved in that. So
30
I
seconds.
find that that is the real issue that's going on here, and it's got nothing to do with the wires or what these trees have been there for 15, 20 years. And also pruning would mitigate any issue. And this is, again, not the first time these trees have been heard. And therefore, there's no reason to remove them because these cite the same issues that were cited in 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Michael Nolte.
Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So, um, it's obvious, based on the previous testimony that, one, public notice is not adequate. Two, there was already been previous hearings on these trees. Three, confusion over which trees are to be heard at this meeting. Four, it's clear that we have this is probably a problem about do we have adequate staff at Public Works to handle these cases? Obviously, this is another example of when we had previous administrators for Buff. Now they're not maybe at the helm anymore. There's no oversight, and now there's just total confusion over how the department is being run. So it's clear to me that this hearing is not properly noticed. I will be it will force people in the community to have to deal with sunshine ordinance because it's not properly noticed. So if you're not noticing the meetings correctly, then you can't hold the meeting. So please table this and have it rescheduled plus re-noticed on the trees so that the public are actually made aware. And as far as the actual trees, proper pruning should be done. And if that's the only problem that I really heard was the clearance from the Muni lines, and that's it. Everything else just was huggy puck. So the trees should stay, period. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Brian had a few questions for you.
Yes.
Are you able to go over sort of the timeline of the postings and the Board of Appeal for
I
us?
cannot speak on the 2019 cases.
Okay.
7 years ago. I did
Okay.
not prepare for that. Sorry. You know, if it was like 7 years ago, then you know, we've reevaluated the trees since then. There might have been more trees that were slated to be removed, and then maybe it did go to Board of Appeals, and it got denied. But at this point, we reevaluated these. So I just want to be clear that there's 3 trees associated with Public Works for this hearing, and so I might have misspoken or got ahead of myself. So there's 2 trees for this case, and then there's like one more on Grove Street that I will be presenting later on. So that's the 3 trees that are slated to be removed for sidewalk repair. Just wanted to just clarify that portion.
Okay, so it's three trees in front of our property. It's
It's
just
only there's
two
two
on
trees
Hayes and
for
one
this
on
Hayes one.
Grove.
So there's two
Yeah.
trees for this Hayes one, and then later on, I will be talking about this 530 Grove, which will be the
Okay.
third tree. I did
Okay.
mention three trees, and that's because this is the third tree for 530 Grove.
Okay.
But there's only two trees at 412 Hayes. Um, but for this one was posted for 15 days, these two trees at 412 Hayes, in December, for 15 days. And they were posted uh, for 15 days. And then we did notify the public and we posted the trees for the hearing, all four corners and the tree. Can't really control what happens to those postings within that posting period, say for the 15 days and for the hearing notice. They do go missing. A lot of times, a lot of people will remove them. Um, and if we are informed, we try and get out there and repost them um, as soon as possible if somebody does inform us. So just FYI.
Okay. How would someone notify
We
us if they don't even know about the posting?
um, it's usually like one of our the members that have seen it on the website, and
Okay.
maybe they've seen something and they're like, "Hey, there was no posting here," and then we'll go out and repost it.
Okay.
Um, it is a little bit difficult to go back and repost the trees, but you know we do try our hardest to get out there if someone if we notice it or if someone informs us. I do keep like if I post my own trees, I'll keep some extra postings, so
Mhm.
I'll go back and check, you know, a couple weeks later, and if I see something missing, then I'll repost it for my districts. But yeah,
Yeah. Does the department have a procedure or policy on checking in on those postings at least
no,
once?
no, we do
No?
not. No.
Okay. And I guess the ordinance or code does not require that, only requires it to be posted. I'm assuming.
Yes, it requires it for the hearing. It's 7 days before the hearing,
Mhm.
and all four corners and the tree.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What is the clearance needed over the muni lines?
I believe it's around like, you know, anywhere from like 3 to 5 feet.
Okay. And those line tails are within that 3 to 5 feet zone?
Yeah, some of the vegetation was growing um into the muni lines, but
Uh-huh.
the the issue is more with the sidewalk than, you know, the tree does pose significant hazard. Um, but like because of the sidewalk repair, it's gonna destabilize the tree.
Okay.
Yeah. So like the combination of, you know, the tailing, the structure of the tree, the sidewalk repair, it just kind of snowballs, and then that's when we decide that the tree needs to be removed.
Okay. Um, would tree basin widening help or pruning?
In some cases, yes, we can, you know, expand the basin as much as we can, but if there's no, that's like our first mitigation is we try and expand the basin. But if we can't expand the basin any further, or because of there's constraints for, um, um, you know, path of travel or anything like that, then you know the next thing is sidewalk repair. Um, and then if you have to do basin expansion and sidewalk repair, but then there's like roots that need to be pruned in order to replace some of those other sidewalk like outside of the basin expansion area, and it's going to remove larger roots, then at that point we do look at removing the tree.
Because I've seen some instances where we've tried to expand the tree basin and leave only about 3 feet clear path of travel on the sidewalk. So for these trees, number one and three, it doesn't look like tree
Yeah,
winding
yeah,
or basin winding has occurred.
it all depends on the site and the sidewalk width and um, how busy the area is. 3 feet is kind of pushing it. We usually do 4 foot, like pinch
Mhm.
points, um, and that will allow ADA access. Um, but 3 feet, not so much. But yeah, and then this is like a heavily traveled corridor, so 3 feet, if we were to expand it and only allow the 3 feet path of travel, I think that would probably cause more problems.
Which is the tension side of the tree?
It's the curbside,
Curbside.
yeah.
Do we know how much uplift has already occurred there?
Um, just from some of these photos, looks like a lot that needs to be repaired. Um, but like some of these other ones, maybe like just looking at the photos, maybe like 2, 3 inches, and they can
Mhm.
only um, like our contractors can only grind down maybe like 1 to maybe 2 inches, and then after that, it's they either have to do a sidewalk repair or we
Mhm.
try and do an asphalt patch, and we can do asphalt patches, but they're temporary. Eventually, the asphalt patch is just there to mitigate any more tripping hazards, and then we'll send it in for repair, and then when we get to it um, and schedule it, then we'll repair the whole sidewalk.
Okay. I noticed that there's tree number one and number three. Where's number two? Number two is okay?
Yeah, number 2 is fine. It's
Okay.
in between them. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. Just to kind of go back to the lion tails, um, those technically could be pruned off and the tree will still be fine.
Yeah. I mean, I've done some pruning on Hayes Street recently because there was clearance issues because there was a big project that went through and
Okay.
all traffic had to be um, directed to the curbside, and so I had to like
Hmm.
get a bunch of clearance. So yeah, I mean, it will harm and damage the tree in the long run, but like if we can try and keep doing that, but um, I think it'll just become more of a hazard. Especially we've looked at all the trees on this block and determined that these two are, at least on Hayes, are the ones that would need to go.
Okay. With the ficuses being so tall and, it seems top heavy, is that a cause or a risk for failure of those limbs?
Yes, yeah, because of the light inhaling, all the growth is directed towards the top. We
Hmm.
have done instances, on 24th Street where we've kind of like headed back or topped the trees and tried to save them, and that has worked. But um, in those cases, we didn't have to do a lot of sidewalk repair. This
Hmm.
is, that's fine. We can, if the tree was fine and didn't require sidewalk repair, maybe we can leave it and see. But because of the sidewalk repair and some of the trip and fall cases that we've had at these locations, um, we believe that we would have to remove the trees.
Okay. How many trip and fall cases reported have we had here?
Um, I do not have that number.
Okay. But at least one.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I had no other questions, so I and no other hands raised. I will close this item and make my recommendation to the director. We'll move on to the next item, order 212620.
Brian Ong, Urban Forestry, order number 212620 for 530 Grove Street. This is to consider the removal of one street tree with replacement adjacent to 530 Grove Street. Staff has approved the removal and the public has protested. This is the third tree that I was talking about in my presentation. that the city has assessed due to sidewalk repair. And so this is 530 Grove Street, tree number 2. Again, this is a ficus tree. It's about medium-sized height, 20 to 35 feet, 14-inch DBH. The condition is poor. The tree is in poor condition. There has been history of topping resulting in decay in the pore unions. From the photos and the arrows, you can kind of see that. And the history of significant tension side root pruning for sidewalk repair, and the tree is replaceable. And then this is basically the sidewalk uplift has required a full sidewalk repair, and the sidewalk repair actually has been completed, as you can see from the photos. However, the long-term stability of the roots and branches is not expected. The tree was assessed for retention ahead of the full sidewalk repair, but it was recommended for removal by the department. You can see here from this June 12th, 2015 photo that the sidewalk was repaired a while ago, that these major roots were removed and cut. And then again, we did another sidewalk repair just recently, and determined that the tree was in poor condition, and because of the topping resulting in decay of the pore unions, that the tree needed to be removed. So to be consistent with how we do with similar cases, we have approved the tree for removal.
Thank you. I'll open it up to public comments right now. John Nolte. John, you're on mute. You're still on mute.
I hit unmute. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is something going on here. Anyway, again, this tree is part of the same set of trees that were heard in 2019. And of course, not only was it heard first from Board of DPW, then it also was heard in front of the Board of Appeals. This tree was included in those set of trees being heard in 2019. So again, this seems to be systematically going back to same trees that were heard and dealt with in 2019 and were agreed upon to be maintained in Hayes Valley. So all I'm hearing is about, again, pruning and sidewalk issues, but it seems to be systematic because of I guess the root system of these trees, because these are nice dense trees, but this one is not a problem with any other issue except for the sidewalk. And it seems to be that however we get these the department has a separate department that only deals with sidewalks. And so this is where the confusion starts to begin when we start discussing about sidewalks, which is a different department, which is paving department inside of San Francisco Department of Public Works. So therefore, this is not necessarily, it's one department saying another department, and then finally the inspector comes out and discusses the root system. So, and there's been a problem in the past about how these between the multiple departments that are involved in dealing with street trees and the sidewalks, how it gets confusing they don't necessarily follow through. And this is what another problem we have here is that you have a root system that needs sidewalk repair, and now because the sidewalk repair has been done. Now we want to remove it. You see, it's a nice mature tree. I didn't hear any other problems except for the root system, and it should stay. And also this is not
30
the first time it's
seconds.
been heard, so this is continuing another problem within the buff itself on how it handles trees. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Michael Nolte.
Appreciate the fact that we're getting these presentations, but it just seems like do I remember hearing this some time ago, and it's going to be, how is it going to be dealt with? And I'm not clear how these trees can all of a sudden become poor condition, and then you just it's like what the presenter said, snowball of issues. Well, anybody can say, well, now these are all the snowball conditions because, we'll find what's wrong with it, what's wrong with it, what's wrong with it, and then present it as a snowball of issues. But the only thing that's seen in the picture is a bunch of signages on the bottom for the sidewalk. The tree looks very healthy. It doesn't look, I've seen trees a lot worse looking. This is not a needs to be replaced in 15 days kind of a situation. There's nothing wrong with the tree. I mean, the tree has been obviously has weathered all the storms that we've had. We've just recently had rain. Where's the real problem here? So it just seems like um, the obviously somebody's like saying, well, we just don't want to deal with the sidewalks anymore. And then there's no issue about, okay, if the tree's replaced, where's it going? It's the same thing as the last presentation, where are the trees going if they are replaced and how long is it going to take? Do we have the money to replace them? And on and on and on. There's no real clear tracking of trees once they are removed. And this is the real issue here. You keep on talking about removal of trees, but you don't talk about how they're going the timeline of replacement and and how they're going to be replaced. What will be the tree? What kind of tree will be replaced by? And so it's not a real complete presentation. When you say this, all you're saying is that we want to remove it, but so you don't tell the community how it's going to be handled. Within 90 days, 100 days, 120, 180 days, there'll be a new tree there. And so there's a lot of misinformation, not a lot of
30 seconds.
still a lot of questions that haven't been answered. So tree looks healthy. It seems to withstanded a lot of problems in the past, and it looks like it could grow even taller, and it should stay. No, there's no problems with it. Just fix the sidewalk. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Brian has some follow-up questions. Looks like this tree basin has been widened. Is that correct?
I do not have a photo of the completed sidewalk work, but yeah, usually we will expand the basin as much as needed.
You had a photo that showed that the basin was widened probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think this basin, they did the demoing of the tree
Uh-huh.
of all the sidewalk that needed to be repaired, and then so this isn't the final product of the tree.
Yeah. There might be a
Um,
photo afterwards on the next page.
yeah, the inspector who
That
went out
one?
there, this one was from 2018. So unfortunately,
Oh, okay.
we don't have a photo. The inspector we just didn't get a photo when we posted the tree of
Mm.
after the work was done.
So 2018, it looks like Um, yeah, looks like it's pretty wide already.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, okay.
So yeah, once we've widened the basin, and then we can't do it anymore, and we have to do additional sidewalk repair, you know, 5, 10 years later, and there's no room for more expansion, and we have to cut like more roots, then yeah,
Okay.
sometimes we have to remove the tree.
How many trees on this side in front of this property?
On this property, for this property, it's only, this is the second tree. I believe there's 2 trees
Two
just
trees.
just at the
And
property.
numbers. Okay. So number one looks okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, other than the sidewalk, and the looks like topping,
hmm
what else is giving the tree itself a poor health assessment?
Um, Basically just like all the included bark, you can kind of, it's kind of hard to tell, but there's like multiple um like stems in here, and there's included bark, and basically when that happens, when the tree's been topped, they'll start growing kind of like that, and like multiple shoots, and basically those are points of weak attachment, um, which can cause failure in the future. So yeah, because how the tree was maintained previously, um, then yeah, I mean it's
So
it's it's started to grow like this.
okay. So it sounds like there's
Yeah,
no really dominant leader. They're all just
yeah,
sprouting
hmm
from probably
yeah, yeah.
where they begin, where all those branches begin.
Yes, and to clarify, this tree was posted for a full 30 days. The other two on Hay Street were 15-day postings, which were more hazardous than this one. This one was a 30-day posting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and what makes this less hazardous than the other two?
I think just the sidewalk that needs to be repaired, and um, some of the more decay on the other trees that we saw, like in the crown of the tree and at the base of the trunk, you could see that there was like more decay. Um, yeah.
Okay. What replacement trees are going to be put in?
We do not have that information on the species. Usually it's whatever. I mean, we do order trees for our nursery, and what's available. It's always changing. So um, when we do replace a tree, we will, you know, look at our inventory at the nursery and decide which tree is best for this area.
So it kind of depends on inventory. What if you don't have, uh, you know, a tree that you think is suitable for this area? Then what happens?
Yeah, we usually have, since the nursery has opened, we have not had that issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many species does the nursery stock?
I mean, it has the ability to hold like, I believe like 700, maybe more, like it's probably like around 700 trees.
Okay.
But it's usually stocked around like 200.
Okay.
Yeah, and then depending on like
How many
big
species are there?
projects, yeah. How many species? Last time I checked, because we're getting ready for Arbor Day, there's maybe like 20 species,
Okay.
15 to 20 species at a time usually.
And these are all sort of predetermined species for areas in San Francisco,
Yeah, yeah, just
microclimates.
yes, yeah. It's
Okay.
different sizes too, small, medium, and large stature trees, depending on what we need. And yeah, we're always ordering different species and different size trees all the time whenever we we need, but it's usually on a basis on what we need at the time, and if there's any like big projects or anything like that coming along.
Okay. Um, and so I don't know what the other trees on this block are. The other one in front of this property is a ficus, so replacing it with a non-ficus, is that going to throw off the aesthetics to the area?
No,
Um,
honestly, we don't really take into account like aesthetics of. It's usually just like what the best tree in the right place.
okay.
Um, you know, we don't really plant stuff that has uh like large fruit or anything like that or whatnot. So like aesthetics, it doesn't really matter on the species and the other species along the corridor. We try and pick species that will kind of grow the same um, um, at the same
Height,
rate. Yeah,
stature, yeah.
the same rate, just like for pruning purposes. When we do go through the neighborhood
Okay,
and prune, we kind of want them to be. We don't want one tree growing faster than the other. It's kind of
okay,
hard to do that, um, but yeah, it's like one of the things that we do look at.
okay. So that really kind of all those criteria really confines um, the selection of species and trees that you kind of plant in each area of the city then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a timeline of replacement for these trees?
Uh, there is no timeline. The timeline is the 120-day replacement.
Mhm.
And then if not, then it gets put on the list.
On the deferred planting
Yes.
list? Okay. Um, are you able to share that deferred planting list with me?
I am not.
Okay.
I don't believe that we have um, constructed one. I'd have to speak to the urban forester, Susan, to see if we have that.
Okay. But we should have one, right? Because that's required.
Yeah, we can
So
probably
it's
get a
just
list of all the
somewhere.
trees. We just have to like probably run a report
Yeah.
in our system.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, if you can get with Susan, let me know where that is or what that looks like.
Okay.
Thanks. Hey, I don't see any other hands raised for public comments, so I will close this item and I'll make my recommendations to the director. We'll move on to the last agenda item, order number 212621.
Brian Hong, Urban Forestry, order number 212621 for 1515 South Van Ness Avenue. This is to consider the removal of one street tree with replacement adjacent to 1515 South Van Ness Avenue. The staff has approved the removal and the public has protested. So here is the tree. It's a pear tree, and this is permit related, construction related. Basically, they needed to remove the tree due to construction, and the tree is like a medium sized tree, 20 to 35 feet, 11-inch DBH. The condition is fair. Um, there's no major health deficiencies. There is some fire blight, which is typical of the species. Um, and the new location of electrical room and vault require severance of all the roots along the building of the side of the tree. And so this level of root pruning or severance was expected to destabilize the tree, and the tree is replaceable. You can see from this photo, there's some evidence of fire blight within the tree. And then here is kind of a site plan of where the tree is, where the electrical room and their transformer is, and basically where all the lines are going. And it's right up against the tree. And all the roots needed to be pruned in order to get this transformer in. and run all the lines through. Here again is a photo of the tree with tree protection and where the transformer is now um, in this blue box. And then here is all the inside the building for the electrical room where all the wires will be going. You can see there's quite a lot of conduit going through. But since then, the tree has been illegally removed without a permit. And so the construction didn't remove the tree before a permit was issued and before this hearing had occurred. So the inspector for the area was pretty surprised that the tree was removed. And so a fine has been issued for $10,000 with an expected replacement caliper of 13 inches. So to be consistent with how we deal with the similar cases, we did approve the tree for removal because of the construction purposes. But since then, the tree has been removed illegally by the contractor and construction. And so we have fined the construction project for $10,000. And there will be a hearing later on for the fine. But as you can see, the tree is now gone.
Thank you. Who from the developer is here to speak on this? Is that Seth?
Good morning.
Morning.
Is now appropriate time for my comments before I can answer any questions?
You can speak. You'll have 3 minutes, and then if I have questions, I'll ask it at the end.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Seth Furman, representing the applicant for Casa Adelante 1515 South and S. It's a 100% affordable housing project with the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development, currently under construction in the Mission District. We began our construction on the project back in February 2025 with every intention to retain and to protect the tree through construction, with it a part of our future landscaping plan. As you saw in the photos, as construction began, the general contractor and the architect confirmed that the tree's root system was conflicting with the future PG&E underground electrical vault. PG&E Green Book spec sheet 063928 has specific specifications for different conduit lengths, how long they can be, and how they run into the building. There was not enough conduit length between the electrical vault and the electrical room, so the vault had to shift southward, which deeply interfered with the tree's root system, which Buff captured accurately earlier. A redesign or relocation of the underground vault was not a reasonable solution. Our construction timeline is extremely critical to energizing the building by next February to meet our temporary certificate of occupancy and our affordable housing tax credit requirements. Any significant delays to leasing up and having residents move in could jeopardize the project's financing and succumb us to possibly hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars worth of fees. The vault will be dug and the transformer will be installed soon, enabling the project to be ready for switchgear delivery in April of this year and subsequent PG&E inspections as we go into the summer. The underground vault had been dug due to PG&E restrictions on the transformer delivery while scaffolding was going up. Delaying installation until after the scaffolding removal in August would jeopardize our TCO and our energizing reporting with PG&E. We submitted our application back in November 2025 with ample time to address this to keep up with their construction schedule. And lastly, to show good faith efforts in ensuring a vibrant tree canopy, we've instructed our landscape architect to add an additional tree into our landscaping plan, which already includes 15 trees we anticipate planting as a part of our project. Prior to construction, there was only one tree on the site, and that's the one showed. Happy to take any questions and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Seth. I'm going to leave questions to the end. I'm going to open it up to public comment at this time. Michael Nolte.
It would be helpful for the public to see how many, where the 15 trees are going to go, since that was mentioned. Two, is there any additional greenery going in besides the trees? Three, who's responsible for the pulling of the stump? Is that the DPW or is it the developer? Three, what kind of trees will be around the development? And just because it's affordable and all that doesn't give a license to do what happened. So obviously, who pays for the? I would assume the developer pays for the all the trees, and then they're just giving an additional fine. So it seems like they did a balance sheet thing, saying, "Well, gee, it's going to cost us millions of dollars if we don't get this done now." So that's what I heard from the representative. Sure, there's a timeline, and I understand that as a community member and somebody who's on the actually receives planning notices from the planning department on a regular basis. So, well, hopefully this development moves forward and will be expedited. And I look forward to getting a notice on the next hearing on this item when it's discussed about the fine. That's what I heard from Brian, that there will probably be another hearing about the fine issuance. So it would be helpful if like I said, the presenter from the developer would talk about the trees and more about the tree plan for the site at this hearing. Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. John Nolte?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, before this development started, two sides of the block, or actually three, there were no trees. And this was the only tree. And so it's a good, half of majority of the block. And they decided, wow, right in the middle of the block, and where this tree is, that's where the vote's going to go. Well, that shows poor planning if that's the only tree at the whole location over, and he points out 15 trees, so that's you imagine that's 14 trees because it has to be every 20 feet. We're talking about how many square feet of around this property that has to be planted. So that's your answer right there of how big this property is around it is. 20 times 14. So she shows a lot of square foot of sidewalk, and only the fault can go right there, where the only tree living for the last 20 years, so they take out. That I find very not amusing, very disturbing, because buffs should have been in part of the development of this tree and where the vault was going to go and how it was going to be affected. And here, so I find that there's a couple of things wrong here. And then also, of course, it's got nothing to do with developing of the property, because that should have been all worked out ahead of time with plans that were submitted to the city and so forth. And all of a sudden, the vault is moved. And now we have a tree gone, and they're only getting fined $10,000. I would also want to add an addendum to this. I want to track the $10,000, because when you say you get that $10,000 and that money goes into your tree fund, again, I understand that money for the tree fund, which is more interesting, doesn't necessarily plant trees. It also is used for watering trees that are planted by Buff. So therefore, everybody thinks it's a tree to plant trees, but actually most of the money goes to watering. And so therefore,
30
we're
seconds.
always behind. So that's another issue that has not really been discussed and vetted out. When somebody thinks they're giving money to a tree fund, and it's actually for watering trees. Thank you very much. And I hope that we can learn a lesson about how city departments with the mayor's office of housing doesn't seem to care about trees, because this is not the first time this has happened under the mayor's office of housing and for a development. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Josh Clip?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, the type of project that's involved really has no place in an analysis about whether a tree deserves to stay. That's not part of the code, and it shouldn't be part of the consideration, not for removal and not for a penalty hearing. What it sounds like is that what it sounds like the applicant is saying here, or now the project is saying, as the tree's already gone, is as long as it would cost us too much, it should be okay to get rid of it. So this sounds like tree removal is becoming just sort of, when it comes to construction, a cost benefit analysis rather than a tree preservation question. And I echo John's observation that there was literally a single tree on this entire frontage. All of this to me says that this is more of a project management problem than a tree location problem. And I would also note that this happens all over the city. Taking, for example, the massive construction project at 300 Daharo, where 7 of the 8 trees on that site were illegally removed for construction, even though there was at that site, just as at this site, tons of open frontage space. So I guess I just leave it with 3 questions, which the first is, what alternatives for vault placement were considered? Because there is a placement preference schedule for San Francisco, and we didn't hear anything about that. Number 2, when was the removal application submitted, and when was the applicant informed that it was approved? And 3, of the proposed 15 trees going in on this frontage, would those still be required if the proposed legislative amendments in file 251211 go through as the department is planning on pushing through the Planning Commission and the Land Use Transportation Committee to go eventually to the Board of Supervisors for a vote? And if you don't know what I mean by that, I'm happy to explain, although I think Brian understands what I'm talking about. Thanks.
Thanks. Josh, can you clarify your question number 3? Just simplify it. Are you asking if the 15 trees will still be planted or?
Yeah, just from a timing perspective, there's the proposal to change Public Works Code Article 16 from requiring development like this, triggering a planting requirement, changing that from a required planting to an optional planting. So instead of planting 15 trees, which is what the law would currently require, by the way, not a gift, a requirement, um, would it go from required planting of 15 trees to the project can decide whether they want to do it or not, and if not, then just pay an in lieu fee.
Got it. Thanks, Josh. Brian's. Now I'm going to redirect that question. Would new legislation change that requirement here, or is this sort of grandfathered?
I believe I'm not sure, to be honest.
Okay.
It hasn't. Don't believe it has been voted on yet.
Mhm.
So at this point, they're required to plant, as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned, as of today.
Okay. When is that going up for vote?
Uh, Again, I do not know
Okay.
those details.
Okay. Uh, Josh, would you happen to know?
It's currently scheduled to go before the Land Use Transportation Committee at the end of March. So it would
Okay.
probably go to the Board of Supervisors for a full vote at the beginning of April, which is why I asked, because this project is clearly not going to be completed by then.
Yeah.
So there would be a new law in place by the time it was completed.
Mhm. Okay. Be
E-
interesting to
Yeah,
see what the text of that legislation says, if there's any um,
yeah.
language to
And
cover these projects that have already had these approvals.
Yeah, we have not
Okay.
had that. I mean, Brian Ong, Urban Forestry, I have not had uh, that discussion. But maybe our higher ups and supervisors have had that discussion. So I'd be interested as well. So I'll probably ask them
Okay.
if they discuss that.
Okay. Brian, do you know when the removal application was submitted?
The removal application was submitted um, in this one was, let's see, it was logged in February of 2024. Let me see, hold on. So it was logged in February 12th. Oh,
2024?
sorry. The tree permit, I'm very sorry about this. The removal application was submitted in November of 2025. We were reviewing the um, the project since um, February 2024. And so how it normally
Uh,
works is once they've submitted the removal permit or the application, once they've paid the fee, the non-refundable fee, then we start our review process for
mhm.
tree removal. So they could have, uh, sent it in, but if they haven't paid yet, then we don't start that process of
Okay.
reviewing the tree.
So just to clarify, the removal application was submitted November 2025.
Yes.
Okay. And then the review you said was started in February 2024?
Yeah, like when they submitted to basically when we reviewed the project in like Bluebeam and gave any type of um, comments to their project and what they needed to get the building permit application. That's when we started, or when it was submitted, and then from there we have like X amount of days to review it, and so that was like a process, and then it wasn't the tree removal permit wasn't sent to us until November, and
Okay.
from the inspector, the tree itself was to be retained at the beginning of the project. So when we reviewed the whole project in the beginning in 2024, the tree was supposed to be retained.
Yes. And so in 2024, was that SStat?
Um, this was in Bluebeam. So maybe SStat might have gone earlier than that.
Okay. Were we
Um,
involved during SStat?
we uh, we usually are. I
Okay.
think at that point we were heavily involved in SStat, and we would have
Yeah.
made comments. But if they were said that they were going to retain the tree, then we would just offer. We would make comments saying that you need to protect the tree during construction,
Okay.
right? So in SStat, if they're not saying that they're going to remove the tree, then we won't direct them to submit like a tree removal permit.
Mhm. Okay. Do we have the list of vault locations that are preferred? I think it's probably called the MOU regarding electrical transformer locations or private development projects between Public Works and the Planning Department from 2019.
Uh, we probably have that somewhere.
Okay.
I don't have that
Um,
at my fingertips right now.
okay. Can you send me a copy of it?
Okay.
Okay. And so this tree is being replaced in same location or not the same location?
According to the plans, well, it is not the same location.
Okay. And And how many trees on this side of the block?
From the plans, it looks like there's one.
Or I mean, how many trees are to be planted on this side of the block?
On this side of the block,
Yeah,
on
on
South.
South Venice.
Oh, so two trees.
Only 2 trees on South Venice.
Yes. And then there's gonna be, let me show you. This doesn't, this, this is not the most updated plans. Uh, Sorry, hold on 1 second. So here is the plan set that I have. It's probably not the most up to date since they said they were um, adding 15 trees. Sorry about that. It's taking a while. So here is the proposed plan, street planting. Um, and basically there is one down here on South Van Ness, and they're removing the one that was illegally removed. They're going to be planting another one. I was informed by the inspector, uh, north of it, right here, and then there's going to be 7 trees on 26th Street, and then another 4 on this other street. I'm not exactly sure which street this is. Sorry about that. Maybe Seth could. Um, this is Shotwell, sorry, and then maybe the Seth can to give more details on the tree planting.
Um, so the existing tree or the tree that was removed, it was 11 inches at DBH, and we're trying to assess them at a 13 inch.
Um, Hold on 1 second. Yeah, so it will be 11 inch sum and 13-inch stump, sorry. So yeah, so we
Oh,
do 6
13.
inches above caliper.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Seth, can you clarify where the 15 trees are? Perhaps maybe you can share your screen, showing a plan of where
Absolutely.
the
So
trees are.
the 15 trees are encompassing of both street frontage and also ones being built in the interior of the project. So correct that there's 7 along 26th Street being proposed, 4 along Shotwell Street on the east side, and then the one that was originally included and the one that's an additional because of the removal on South Finesse. So 7, 4, 2, that's 13 street frontage. And then in the interior project, we have a courtyard. And currently we have a minimum of 2 that we're planning, with the goal of trying to add more. And you can see those in the interior. They're those little circle bulb outs. And then we also have one small one on the roof as well.
Okay.
So net gain, it should be more than 15.
Okay. The trees in the courtyard, that's not accessible to the public, right?
Correct.
Okay. So 13 in the public right away.
Correct.
Okay. I saw site plans, or site permit plans showing that there's a calculation of 9 trees required on the south NS frontage, but only 8 were shown, and then 7 were shown. Why is there a discrepancy of that?
Discrepancy of the different number of trees shown on which frontage.
On South Venice?
My suspicion is this project's been in pre-development for quite a few years, and there's just been different plans that have been submitted over the years.
Even between just the same plan set, there's notes that say, that calculate 9 trees that are required on the South Venice frontage, but I counted only maximum of 8 trees on those plans.
I'd have to defer to our landscape architect on that because they're the ones responding to code and requirements and drawing as is needed.
Okay. Um, why couldn't the vault have been located somewhere else? Kind of leads to the question, did the design consider any other areas where the electrical room be located? Was there any design elements that this project needed to abide by where the electrical vault room needed to be where it's located? So kind of leading to the question ultimately of why couldn't we have designed
Mhm.
around this tree? Was that even a consideration?
Yeah, the electrical room location, that's primarily dictated off of PG&E infrastructure running along South Vanessa Avenue. So PG&E more or less dictates the general location where the vault should be given existing conduit and infrastructure underneath the street. And then we always try to have an electrical room somewhere in the center of the building that also must be accessible to the street in case of an emergency. So once you start kind of backing into where those parameters are, you end up mid-block and South Finesse, where the tree is located.
Okay. So I understand the PG&E infrastructure is, we have the Green Book guidelines, um, but that doesn't preclude it from being located on, the corner of the building where it is, because conduit, could be located there. I think what I'm hearing is the electrical room is usually designed near the center of the building.
That's generally the goal, correct? Because that means less
Um,
conduit running through the building.
okay, so is that more of a financial thing or is that more of a, I guess, design feature for buildings in general, where it's a central location, essentially accessible, um, logistics, or kind of financial?
It's, I would say it's all the above. It is best practice. It's also logistically makes sense. Also, too, because of the different uses of the site, we have two commercial spaces. The main residential location also needs to be prominent on a street corner as well. And so we're just limited on the amount of street frontage for different access points into the building. So again, it's once you kind of move all these different blocks around, that's how you land on where doors are located, where they're supposed to be located.
Okay. And this is all residential, no commercial space?
There are two commercial spaces. There's one on South and S, just south of the tree, butting up against the property line more or less. And there's one on the Shotwell side. That's going to be an early child care center.
Okay.
And then
Um,
one other point is just the grade change, the grade as well on the property on the 26th Street side. That's actually the second story of the building because the grade slopes down. So the electrical room, it would have been a challenge to put it up there because it wouldn't be technically on the basement or ground floor of the building.
okay. And then the entrance is at the corner of the building?
The residential
Also?
entrance is in the northwest corner of 26th and South Finesse.
Okay. was that a design element or was that a requirement by the mayor's office or planning?
I don't recall it being a requirement. That's just given 168 units. You want to make
Mhm.
sure that the location is prominent and accessible. And that's the strongest corner.
Okay. Right. Um, I believe so. My assumption is this development or this developer has, done a lot of these designs, and is fully aware of Green Book requirements, infrastructure requirements, utilities, things like that. I guess just wondering why so many trees were proposed with the site permit plan set, and then it just, all of a sudden being scaled back.
I don't have a strong answer to that question. Again, the project's been in pre-development for a few different years, so different design iterations come about as the project progresses, different needs, different directives, both from the city, and also from our affordable housing requirements as well. So again, we always try to plant as many trees as we want, as we can. And so again, if there's a discrepancy, different drawings over the years, I think that's unfortunately just how affordable housing is progresses as we go through the pre-development design process.
Okay. Um, are there, other than the trees, are there any other greenery applications in the public right of way?
Uh, there's gonna be a bunch of streetscaping proposed along South and S 26 and Shotwell, so different bushes, shrubbery, things like that, different bike racks, infrastructure, etc. Um, Based off what the site had been looking for a few years before we started, we definitely feel like the street improvement and the day-to-day activations are going to be much better than what was there before.
Okay. Those shrubs, are those going to be in the public right of way or inside property lines,
Uh,
technically?
Technically within the property lines.
Okay. But still visible and sort of accessible to the public.
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you have a rendering of that you can maybe share on your screen?
Yeah, I can actually direct to our website. I think has the most current renderings, and I think we have
Okay.
a South and S frontage one,
Okay.
1515svn.org.
1515svn.org. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comments? I guess everyone spoke already. Um, okay. I have no other questions, so I will close the item and I'll make my recommendations to the director. That concludes our hearing for this morning. Thank you for everyone's time and attendance. This hearing is now closed.
Brian, can you stop the recording, please? Because it made you host.